This conversation is taking place at the Smyrna Opera House.
I'm talking today to Linda Sims in the wonderfully acoustical space of the Smyrna Opera House. Linda, tell us a little bit about the background, the history of Capitol Ringers.
Well, Capitol Ringers actually started in 2004, so we're still a fairly new organization in Delaware. We are one of two community handbell ensembles in Delaware. The other one is in Wilmington Handbell Ensemble. I had always wanted to assemble really skilled ringers in our region and see if we could pull together a community group like this so that we could do other repertoire, not just be limited to the typical church repertoire, since most handbell choirs are in churches.
Now, your ringers, do they have experience from other organizations that you mentioned, churches? Are they volunteers? And if so, what kind of time is involved in practicing, preparing for a program?
They're all volunteers, and yes, several of them ring in other church choirs, so they are able to learn higher functioning skills in Capitol Ringers and even take those other skills back to their churches.
Now, what would a typical ringer look like? Who constitutes your ringers, and what kind of musicianship goes into that?
Well, there is no typical ringer, I don't think. We have all ages, and as far as musicianship is, of course, it's always easier to teach someone how to ring bells if they can read music. However, we have actually started people as a sort of a beginner shadowing group, so that we have ringers who are not as experienced and they are shadowing experienced ringers, or sometimes we meet separately and I work with the beginners who have the desire to really learn how to ring. They've always wanted to ring, and so they want to learn a lot of the skills and techniques that are required.
In addition to the range of musicians that you have, how many bells do you have in a handbell choir, and how many bells is one musician really able to manage at one time?
It depends. We happen to have a 5-octave set. That's 61 bells. And we're counting all of here's the piano right here. We're counting the white keys and the black keys as well. As far as the position or the assignment to each ringer, that varies. Obviously, bass bells are larger, more difficult, cumbersome to pick up and actually ring, because they're quite a bit heavier than the smaller ones. So the bass ringers may not ring always as many as the upper ringers do. But it does vary a little bit, and we have to shift ringers around sometimes and borrow bells and move bells around. So if you see a handbell choir or an ensemble such as ours, you'll see movement of bells and personnel as we set up for the next piece.
There's a real choreography to the art form of bell ringing.
Absolutely, there's a huge choreography, and if you look down the side view of a group playing really actively, you will see it just looks like an oiled machine with all of the hands and everybody moving. If you looked at the score, it looks a lot like piano music. It's just there are a few more pitches added here and there to make it a little bit thicker in texture.
Well, Linda, it's really been a delight talking to you today about Capitol Ringers. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.